Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. My name is Michael Bonitatis, founder of Animation Libation Studios, and I'm proud to be the host of this very special podcast for ArtStation's Animation Week. We have an amazing panel of CSUN graduates joining us, discussing their insights and experience in creating their short films. If you like our podcast, there will be many more podcasts to come about everything animation on our YouTube channel, Animation Libation. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel for everything animation and keep on animating. I'm joined here tonight by four CSUN graduates. Rose Kochanek created a 2D animated short, How to Make Fruit Salad. Edgar Diaz, who created a CG animated short, The Swindler. Tyler Adams, a 2D animated short, How the Cookie Crumbled, and Robert Curtis, the CG animated trailer for the series The Chronicles of Tobor, created by our studio, and Robert is the CG animation supervisor. Okay, I'd like to start with you, Rose. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you?
Great, thanks for being here. So tell me, Rose, how'd you come up with the idea of your film? Are you a big fan of fruit salad or what?
Actually, I'm not really a big fan of fruit salad. I absolutely do not like it.
Okay. Well, what made you come up with this idea? It's a very interesting concept.
Well, I really am interested in a lot of scary films and horror in general. And so I really wanted to make a short film that got increasingly more disturbing as the film went along. I'm also a big fan of German Expressionism, and I wanted to do a film that had more storytelling done in the sounds rather than dialogue.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, let's take a look at how to make a fruit salad directed by Rose Koenig.
delicious.
Very interesting. Great stuff. Love the style and the concept. Very cool. So, Rose, tell me, a lot of the animators and directors we've been working on teams, and you decided to tackle this yourself and actually do everything, wear all the hats because it was your vision. So, tell me, how was this challenge faced by you?
Well, it was definitely difficult. There were some things that I had to learn because I didn't have prior experience to doing it. So that was what was great with working alone is I got to do a little bit of everything and I got to learn more about a little bit of everything. But I really had a fun time storyboarding it. Then I had to do the backgrounds, the actual animation. It was definitely a lot to learn, but it was very beneficial, and I feel like I can tackle it a lot easier now.
That's great. Out of all those different areas of the pipeline, from pre-production to production and post, what was your favorite? What part of that you worked on that you liked the most, that you got the most enjoyment out of?
The backgrounds for sure. I
Cool.
love painting, so that was that was the most fun for me.
Excellent. Now you talked a little bit about your schedule. Everybody had 15 weeks to do these films, whether they were on their own or working on a team. How did you stay on track and get everything done with your deliverables and your timetable?
Well, I had to limit each portion of the production pipeline. I had to condense it in a couple weeks. So even if I didn't finish, like let's say the backgrounds, I had to continue on to the animation just to make sure that everything was done. And at the end, if I had extra time, I would go back and be able to finish the stuff that I didn't finish or take out a section, which I ended up having to do. I had to take out a couple scenes because I just didn't have enough time to finish it. But overall, I did the things that mattered, and then the things that I would like to do, but wasn't as important to the story.
So, out of all those elements that we were talking about, the backgrounds and the animation, which element took the most time? Which was the most time consuming to actually do?
Probably the animation, just because, animation is very time consuming, and for every second, you have to either draw or have 24 pictures to complete that second.
Now,
So I did frame by frame, so sorry.
you worked, yeah, you worked frame by frame, which
Mhm.
means you drew each drawing yourself. And tell us a little bit about the frame by frame animation. You worked on twos or threes, and what the difference
Mhm.
for that is for everybody out there.
Yeah, so I worked on twos, which means I did a picture every if there's 24 frames per second, I did them in two, so I did 12 pictures per second. Likewise, on threes, it would be condensed, so you have a picture playing for 3 frames. But I did it on twos. I also mixed some tweening in there, and I did a couple ones just if I needed more action. But overall, it was twos.
And how long was the entire length of your film?
I think it was a little over 3 minutes.
That's great. That's a lot of drawing.
Yeah.
Very, very busy. That's great. Well, thanks again, Rose. This was very informative, and we really appreciate that. We're going to move on to the next person, next director, Edgar Diaz, the director of the CG animated short, The Swindler. So, Edgar, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Great. Thanks for having being here too. Um, Edgar, how did you come up with the idea and the look for this film?
Well, that's a really great question to ask because it was not easy. It was not easy to come up with it, and that's because of the art direction. The art direction was the key point of the whole film. It is what dictated the our character designs, our props and environment designs. So it was really difficult to nail it down to a specific art direction. Having these two robots. one a shopkeeper and another one a tiny little guy who's traveling, and both of them end up fighting for to keep a powerful crystal that allows them to travel through different locations. And
So,
so yeah, so with sorry with a lot of discussion between my team members, and we end up coming up with the art direction of being a steampunk.
oh, I see. Okay, steampunk style, which enlighten everybody. This is Victorian London, turn of the
Yes,
century, 1800s, when the only kind of power was available was steam powered stuff. So
yeah,
that
that's
was some of the influence of the look.
yes,
That's
yes,
an interesting idea.
yeah, definitely. So aside from being futuristic, we wanted to give it a bit more style.
The
Uh,
retro look. Great.
yes.
Okay, well, let's take a look together at the short animated film, The Swindler. Great. And you broke that down in terms of obviously you being the director and the lead animator. What were the major roles that the other three people on the team played?
Yeah, the big one I think was the production manager, one of the big roles that in my team, and the other roles were character modelers and environmental modelers as well.
Great. And tell us a little bit about the role of the production manager. What did the production manager do? How did you guys stay on track with the project and meet your deadlines?
Well, I definitely relied heavily on my production manager because she was the one who kept reminding us of our deadlines, our goals, our weekly goals actually as well. Because without her, we would probably be behind our schedule. And every time, halfway between the weeks, we would get reminders. Hey, how are you guys doing? Do you guys need help or something? And so that was a huge help for the whole team to stay on track and be able to keep up with the deadlines that we set ourselves, even our small deadlines that we
It's
made.
great to work on a lot of different parts of it. Which part did you enjoy the most?
I definitely, I know I mentioned challenging was the animation, but that was the most fun part for me because I really enjoyed animating the characters, and trying to express their personalities, through the animation. And so that was I think the most, for me, it was the most fun to do.
Great. So challenging and fun at the
Yes,
same time.
double-edged
Excellent.
sword.
Well, thanks again, Edgar, for showing this and being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you for
Excellent.
having me.
Over to Tyler Adams, the director of the 2D animated short "How the Cookie Crumbled." How you doing tonight, Tyler?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit about this cookie crumbled situation and what made you come up with cookies? How cookies?
Okay, so I really wanted to make a detective noir like slash murder mystery, but I wanted a twist to it. I thought to myself, how would I make this different from other detective noirs? So I tried thinking of something completely opposite to the genre. What's the opposite of something dark and serious as a detective noir? Cookies. And so, hear me out. Cookies are fun and sweet. Kids love them. So it's perfect to mix with this murder mystery detective noir film. And
I
so
love it.
that was the idea.
That's great. Cookies, I'm a big fan of them. It's good stuff. So, that being said, let's take a look at how the cookie crumbled.
Evening, officer.
Ah, Detective Gingerbread. We've got another crumbled cookie on our hands. Victim's name is John Doe. We brought a suspect in at the station for questioning. Goes by the name Chocolate Chip Jerry.
I'm innocent, I tells you. I'm just a stale old sick cookie. However, I did find this little doodad from across the street.
Girl Scout cookies, huh? Samoa Delights. Care to chat for a minute? Do you know this cookie?
Never met him, but I haven't done anything wrong, officer.
Well, what about smuggling illegal sprinkles for the cartel?
Alright. Now you know too much. Get in the way! Stop him!
Huh? Raisin? But that means...
Chocolate Chip Jerry?
That's no chocolate chip. That's oatmeal Gary.
That's right. I murdered John Doe. And now you two are next. You'll never catch me alive.
Well, I suppose that's how the cookie crumbled.
That was great. Great stuff. Really fun. Uh, I, cookies. You can't go wrong with cookies. Always.
Thank you.
Um, so, how many other artists worked with you on your project?
Including me,
Yeah.
there were 4 people.
Okay, great. And you obviously were the director and creator. What were the other roles that the other teammates played?
So we were all animators for this project. 2 of us were character designers, and 1 person did most of the backgrounds. However, we did all contribute to at least one background.
Great, great. And was did you also have a production manager, and how did you keep track of your shots and your scenes and hit your deadlines and deliverables?
Yeah, so we did have a production manager. He did such a great job. He set up this Excel sheet and then listed all the shots. After we finished the animatic, we numbered all our shots, listed them down, and then collectively as a team, we went over each shot, determined its level of difficulty from a scale to 1 to 3. And then as a team, we decided which shots we wanted to work on and we distributed it like that.
Very cool. Very cool. That's great. So I noticed you had some very interesting transitions in your film. What was the inspiration for that?
Yeah, so for the transitions, I was heavily inspired by the classic Batman television show where whenever they would go to a next shot, it'd be like, you know. And so I watched a bit of those transitions carefully, about like an hour or so, and tried to replicate that for our transitions.
And you did so very well. Very
Thank you.
fun. Kind of make the whole story come together. So, as I keep on thinking about these cookies that you're talking about, um, it was interesting the art direction choice you chose. How did you arrive at that? And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could draw cookies, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so it took a process. We first wanted to make these kind of they're humanoid characters but cookies, but then it wasn't really working as well because we wanted to figure out what type of cookie they were. So we made it a little bit more simpler and went with that's the cookie and then kind of gave them clothes and arms and legs. So
That's great. Very cool. And a little bit about the animation process. You also did it was it frame by frame and twos, or talk to us a little bit about that?
yeah, so we animated on ones, so
Wow.
24 frames per second.
So
And
24 drawings per second.
yeah,
A
and
lot
so
of
I
drawings
estimated a
there.
total of that. Our film
Really?
was 2 minutes, 46 seconds. And
Breaking
so
that
that's
down, 24
roughly to
times 6,
4,000 frames.
4,000
Yep.
frames. There we go, folks. We have a winner tonight. Ding, 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 ding. 4,000 drawings for a less than 3 minute animated film. How many of
Yep.
you out there think animation is fast? It's quick, it's time consuming. But now that it's done, how great do you feel about the overall result of it?
I it, that's like the biggest reward is just like seeing all our hard work for the past like 15 weeks put together. And for the credits, I really want to make sure we showed our whole process towards up to this moment. And so looking back at it, feeling proud at both myself and my teammates because they did such a great job
That's
as a team.
great. Really appreciate that. Thanks so much, Tyler. I appreciate your insight and feedback on your film.
Thank you.
All right, so I am now with Robert Curtis, who acts as the CG supervisor on the Chronicles of Tobor. Now, the Chronicles of Tobor was a bigger project that's being produced by Animation Libation Studios, and it started out being a short, and then it evolved into a series. So we're now doing episodes of it, and Robert worked on every aspect of it as the CG supervisor. But he came in early when I presented the project to everybody, and there was also probably about a year's worth of work almost already done in pre-production. So Robert, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us about the biggest challenge that you faced coming into work on the Chronicles of Tobor.
Absolutely. For me, the biggest personal challenge was a bit of fear and a little nervousness. When I jumped on, I felt like I was jumping onto a moving train. But luckily, I had some great teammates that really helped mentor me, really got me up to speed in really short amount of time. And now I get the privilege to turn around and do that to all the new team members that we're bringing on and that are getting to work on the production now.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm very, very happy with the way it's coming along. So let's take a look at the trailer for the series that'll be coming out in a few months from now, The Chronicles of Tobor.
not in Kansas anymore. Whoa. Check that out. Check that out. Take this. Guard it with your life. It's the key to the future. The talisman will show you the way. Make haste. Come on, let's get out of here. Giddy up! Ah, great, here they come. We've got company. Come on, really? Time to go. Yep. There's not much time. Get out of here. The future depends on you.
Excellent. I mean, really fun stuff. I'm so excited to get the series out there. And there's just a lot of fans already who are writing in and calling in and wanting to see more of Tobor. So Robert, you're doing some phenomenal job working on it. Tell us briefly about the pipeline that was set up, because as we know, there's a different pipeline set up for every project. And this one, bigger with a bigger team, and it's CG stuff. Well, what approach did you take with that? We worked on it.
Yeah, so after a couple of iterations of our pipeline, we realized that we would start out with the storyboards, kind of make sure everything was flowing, working nicely there. Then we would take the storyboards and we would create a CG animatic. So we were kind of doing a bit of rough animation. You know, we're placing the models, the characters, making sure the environments, everything was working together. Once we were happy with how that looked, we did a lighting animatic. And basically what we did there is we took a couple renders from each of the shots. We're really just checking the lights, making sure nothing's being blown out, you know, everything is being lit correctly. There's no issues there. At that point, we have already handed the work off to our animation team, and the animators are working on it. So we would take the final animation and we would plug it in, make sure that nothing's popping, you know, it's clean. After that, we would set up a renders, take advantage of render layers, AOVs, all that fun stuff, and then render it out and get it over to our compositing team, who would put all the final touches on it.
Great. I think the overall end result and the final composite looks fantastic. And I know that there was a lot of sort of passes that were made in the rendering process with the lighting, as well as the textures and just the overall final look of it, as we're kind of taking it even now a notch up, even a step further from the trailer. So I think there's a lot to look forward to with the final film look. So what aspect of the project, and now that you're still working on it, do you find the most rewarding? Do you like the most about it?
Honestly, the challenge. You know, from week to week when we're meeting, it's always something new. When I first jumped on, I was handed the project of building a spaceship. The next week, I was handed the project of sawing one of our characters' heads open and putting in a whole little interactive, you know, console. So, you know, it's the week to week challenge that I
Right.
love. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely something different, as every short film is. You never know what's going to happen the next day, but being up for the challenges is a huge part of it, and being excited about it. Um, so that's great. One thing that you maybe learned from this experience that you didn't know before coming into it, that you would say, wow, this is 2020 hindsight, is now I know this?
For me, it's definitely a confidence factor. When I first jumped onto the project, you know, I was making models and stuff that met my school assignments. And being on the team really pushed me to that next level. I got to work with a lot of people who even specialized into certain things. So we had somebody who was dedicated to rigging, worked closely with him, learned a lot of tricks from him. We've had a couple great texture artists along the way. I've learned a lot of tricks from them with my time here. And so it's really just a confidence. Now I definitely feel like, tackling the entire project, although it is big, it's something that I'm up to doing.
That's great. And again, there's so many different aspects of CG and different things to work on. There's always new stuff to learn that I can attest to for sure. Excellent. Thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate you being here. I have one more question that I'd like to ask everybody, and I'll go around and just ask each one of you. Now that you guys have completed a short or working on a short project, what advice can you give other aspiring filmmakers and animation directors and creators who haven't yet done this but want to do this? Maybe what you could do with your project when it's done. Let me start with Rose. Rose, go right ahead.
The biggest advice I would give aspiring filmmakers is if they have a vision or something they want to do, something that inspires, don't be afraid to change anything in the future. Like if you had a storyboard that you want this to happen, and then this is the finale, and you get halfway through and you're like, I'm not really feeling it. Don't be afraid to change it at that point, because overall it is yours, and some things it just doesn't work out. Be flexible with anything. That's the main thing.
That's great advice. Really, really sound advice. It makes a lot of sense. Great. Edgar.
Yeah, my advice to aspiring filmmakers and animators or just in general is don't be afraid to take advice from anyone, because you never know what ideas might come out of it, or even new challenges that you never thought of. Because sometimes we're always with visors that we just focus on ourselves, and it's kind of sometimes difficult to open our minds. So be open-minded to anything that comes at you.
Great. Open-minded and taking advice is huge. Excellent. Tyler.
Yeah, so my advice would be to never stop creating. Practice, practice, practice. Always have a pen in your hand and learn from the pros. What I'd like to do a lot was I would look at an animation, pause it, look at it frame by frame, and see how it works. How does the motion work and everything? And don't be afraid to use your own references too. I'd record yourself doing a motion, record yourself talking, try to replicate that through animation. And so a lot of that.
I think it's great. Animators are actors, and you have to be able to do what your character is going to be portraying in the scene.
Exactly.
And that's really important. Excellent. And Robert.
Biggest advice I could give is get organized and stay organized. Wearing a lot of hats, I was constantly making schedules, making sure that we were meeting milestones, and just keeping track of what and all was going on. And that would be my biggest advice, is just figure out what you need to do, create markers so that way you can make sure you're staying to your deadlines.
This was an amazing short film production podcast. I'd like to thank my guests, Ms. Rose Kochanek, Mr. Edgar Diaz, Mr. Tyler Adams, and Mr. Robert Curtis. At Animation Libation Studios, this is Michael Bonitatis, your host. I hope to see you all very soon. And the next podcast, take care and signing out.